Hi guys, welcome back. So I'm joined once again by Max from the Black Jersey. Thank you very much, Max, for joining me. How are you doing?
All good, thanks, Rich. Got up pretty early for this, and I'm pumped to discuss some rugby, go through some possible bolters, and I guess the general state of the competition.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been pretty much fixated on the Six Nations and all the things going on there, but creeping up on us, Super Rugby Pacific has started. It's 5 rounds in, so you've got quite a lot of evidence in front of you, and you are the man to get me up to speed. I mean, I've been catching bits and pieces, but no, you are the man getting me up to speed. And if you haven't already, do subscribe to the Black Jersey because he's got lots of great content going on. So, Max, Super Rugby Pacific, straight away, how do you view this version of Super Rugby compared to those other iterations of the past, just in general?
Cheers, Rich. So what I think's going on right now is all these attempts to speed up the game. It's getting a bit silly, and I think that all these teams are just trying to play at a million miles per hour, and they're losing some of the structure to their play. We're seeing some pretty shocking defense as well because there's no halfback allowed to challenge so and so until the ball's exited the ruck. It's just getting a little bit ridiculous, I think, the state of the league, and the people are definitely voting with their dollars. There was a Warriors game, which is a rugby league team, that was at Mount Smart Stadium about 15 hours or so after a Hurricanes versus Moana Pacifica game at Mount Smart Stadium. The Moana game had like 5,000 people in the audience, and the Warriors had 19,000. So
Wow.
yeah, there's definitely a bit of a problem going on that
I
we
mean,
can
that's something
look at.
that's something that's been going on for a while, though, hasn't it? That the domestic turnout's never been the greatest for the Super Rugby games, but when it comes to the internationals, it's fine. Do you think it's getting worse then, the actual attendances?
Around I guess 2017 or so, you could really notice that New Zealand crowds were looking a lot healthier than South African and Australian crowds, but it's kind of just got to the point where people just want to sit on their bums at home and watch the games that way because Sky are doing such an amazing job at filming everything, and they don't want to spend the money on the food that's at the stadiums and all that stuff. So it's a bit of an odd one right now, yeah.
Okay, well, so the game's a bit like harem scarum. It's just too fast, too messy. Do you think?
I think so. Like the Blues versus Crusaders, that was one heck of a game, mate. That was thrilling to watch. It was almost like watching a test match where the two teams weren't quite there defensively. It was, I guess, similar to watching the 2019 version of Wales against the 2019 version of, say, France. It was a very, very thrilling game where the audience were really into it, but a lot of the other games that are starting to feel like Groundhog Day a little bit
Okay.
for those very reasons that you and I have just discussed. Yeah.
The one I really caught was where Fiji and Drua they beat who was it? They beat right at the last
Yeah,
minute.
Crusaders. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
it. They beat the Crusaders. Was it in Suva? Yeah.
Actually, I think it was in Lautoka, but yes, it was in
Okay.
Fiji. That crowd
Right.
was,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
were loving it, mate. They were loving
Yeah. I
it.
mean, just you couldn't script it better, could you? That looked really exciting. But with the South Africans gone now, is it a worse product or is it not preparing them for internationals as well, do you think?
With South Africa playing in the URC, I don't think the impact of the quality of the competition's gone down crazily, but it's really impacted the viewers. Like I've had a lot of discussions with South African members of my audience and the DMs on Instagram and stuff. They've said things such as, "Oh, I always used to wake up at say 7 a.m. before I played a game myself midday. I'd watch the NZ teams play against each other, the Aussie teams. I'd go play my game, get my afternoon tea, stuff like that. I'd come back home for 4 o'clock when South African games were played. And like, I guess a lot of those people aren't really incentivized to watch those games anymore because their home teams aren't competing against the Kiwi teams that are playing early in the morning. So they're just waking up at 8 or 9 a.m. like a normal teenager and just chillaxing before their own games and stuff.
Okay, that's interesting. I mean, even when I was young, like at university, people would get up and watch, the rugby players would get up and watch the Super Rugby games in the morning, and then, like you say, go and train or go and play their games. I'm just not sure they're doing it as much as they used to. So anyway, moving on, the Chiefs unbeaten. Is that because Gatland has left? That's a bit tongue in cheek, but what are the Chiefs doing right?
I love the go at Wales there, eh? I think that Gatland is a very smart coach. Everyone knows that I think that. And the fact that he spends all this time researching his opposition just didn't give him a chance back here in New Zealand, because none of the other teams here in New Zealand bother to do the research on their opposition. They don't even bother with a game plan, full stop. And that team that Gatland had was such a young team that didn't quite have the confidence. So they kind of just needed to, I think, get a coach who would worry more about their personal lives, things like that. Whereas Gatland obviously is that cool granddad that will give you nice tips before a game. And the Chiefs, I think, with Gatland there, it was good for them, but they just needed a more of someone that was in touch with our scene to get them into the confidence building stage. Like, had Clayton McMillan taken charge in 2020 and left at the end of last year, Gatland would have been a good person for the job, but he got the timing completely wrong.
Right.
I also think that, Sam Cane is not our best seven, but he's definitely underappreciated. Like, all that work he's doing, the breakdowns, definitely helping.
Yeah.
Ollie Norris robbed of an All Black cap. Talkiaho has been a massive part of this. So
Oh,
is Aiden.
fantastic. Yeah.
I mean, look
Okay.
at their depth at lock as well, mate. You could just keep going on that for hours.
So you're saying Gatland's been a bit unlucky, has he? Where he's come into the Chiefs at the wrong time, then left at the wrong time, then gone to Wales at the wrong time. Okay.
He's doing the same with the All Blacks job, hasn't he, mate? It's just
Yeah.
time for him, isn't it?
Oh, go on then. Talking of the All Blacks job, I was going to come on to that. So you've got Scott Robertson confirmed now as taking over from the All Blacks after the World Cup. Do you think that was a good thing to announce it now, or does it make Foster a bit of a dead man walking with less authority? Should they have kept it quiet for a bit? What do you reckon? I'm assuming you think it's a good appointment.
I do think that there was a better person for the job in Jamie Joseph, but he is a good appointment.
Okay.
Like, the NZR just needed to get the times, mate, honestly, because they keep waiting for after a World Cup, the talent's gone. After a World Cup, the talent's gone. And we really needed to get rid of this old boys club that was just dominating the coaching stuff so badly. Razor was not as good of an option as Jamie Joseph. I'm just going to leave that on the door here.
Go super quickly. Why?
Really
Why do you think Jamie Joseph would have been better? Go on, just a couple of points, because that's a big,
no worries.
Big claim.
International experience, culture, and of course he's no nonsense. He's going to be very strict with the boys. So, I mean, perfect to have a guy like that in the job.
Okay. Well, maybe he will have his chance. How old is he? Do you reckon he'll still have a shot after Robertson?
I don't know how long Razor would want the job for, because Razor's yet to turn 50. Joseph's like 53. And considering how passionate Razor's looking in all these press conferences, I don't think he's ever going to give the job up. I wouldn't be surprised to see him still there for the 2035 World Cup there. Wouldn't surprise me at all.
Okay. Good stuff. Okay, so let's talk about players. For the Chiefs, the unbeaten team, who's been catching your eye specifically? I mean, for me, I'll chuck a name in the hat there. Damon McKenzie, I think, has come back into New Zealand rugby and has looked the best he's ever looked, 10 or 15. Is he someone that you think should go straight into the All Black squad?
Absolutely, because as things stand right now, depth at 10 is not looking very good. Like, every minute on the depth chart is still valid. No one's got injured, but Peter Feta hasn't really been given a proper go. So to have McKenzie and as that third choice option just gives you so much more security when you look at the form he's in right now, because as things were standing, if Mwonga was to go down, you'd be starting a fullback at 10 or an uncapped player at 10. McKenzie actually playing solid minutes there, I feel a lot more safe, should Mwanga go down.
Okay, yeah, no, absolutely. Anyone else looking decent from the Chiefs?
Oh, definitely. Samasoni Taukei'aho's picked up where he left off. Tupuvai has two. Brody Retallick's actually looks pretty decent as well. I think he wants to give it a bit of a swan song. Luke Jacobson, he's looked all right, but I do still wonder if that door is shut on him. There's a few backs looking good, like Alex Nankerville, Rob with an All Black cap, but Ameka Poihipi's in really good form. Eteni Nano Saturo's looking a little bit better on defense as well. Amoni Narawa, he's, I guess, the breakout star of this year for them too. I've loved seeing the Fijian flair from that man.
Okay, so on to the other New Zealand teams. Who else is looking really sharp for New Zealand?
Really sharp on the other teams. I'm a Chiefs man, so this is going to be hard to admit, mate.
Come on.
Peter Luckeye from the Hurricanes, though, I like seeing him at 7. I'm going to say that. Luckeye played number 8 for pretty much his whole age grade career before the Hurricanes picked him up for this season. After just one single NPC season at number 8, they've put him on the open side, and I think that suits his skill sets. Should Adi Savia suddenly like grow a few inches overnight and actually be the height of an actual number 8, that's perfect for the lineup for the Hurricanes. Luckeye's got a low center of gravity, wins a lot of turnovers. It's perfect for him. And mate, Cam Roigard, he is going to be devastating as an impact player off the bench for the All Blacks in a few years' time. In 2024, he's absolutely they're rather going to make his test debut. He is so good, mate. Unbelievably good.
Excellent. So too early, you reckon? Too early for this World Cup?
It's just combination building, eh? Like wrong place, wrong time.
Okay. And I noticed that Geordie Barrett's been playing pretty much exclusively at 12. Is that right?
Yeah, I want to make a video on that topic later down the line. I want to dedicate, I guess, 15 or so minutes to look at why he isn't a centre. He's been so much more quiet at centre for the Hurricanes, and with Josh Morby at fullback, I guess their last line of defense isn't looking as reliable. Cover defense isn't as good of a strategy for the Hurricanes because Morby isn't just at Barrett's defensive standards. Like Morby is a great attacker, has a great offload game, great kicking game, but on defense, not the best in the world by any means.
But for the All Blacks, though, I think personally, we're looking at the All Blacks last season. When Geordie Barrett played 12, I thought they were a much better team. Is he the guy they need for the All Blacks at 12, though? Or are there better options?
I think you know it. I think that it's Havili. Like, the thing is, combination building has to be taken into account, and you've just run out of time to give these newbies a go. A lot of people say that, oh, Geordie looked really good, but you've got to take the context of those tests into account. First off, it was a competition-winning game where Tupaia, Goodhue, Havili were all three of them were injured. And because Geordie played the last few minutes when Bowden came off the bench in that, sorry, not the Perth test, the Melbourne test, because Geordie played that one at 12, Fozzie was like, right, we've got a trophy on the line. We're just going to have to put Geordie there because no way are we going to chuck a guy that's so uncooked into this jersey. They then gave him a go against Wayne Pivac's Wales, and I think that says it all. Whereas England, that was like the only real proper test that he played there. Havili did get a go against Scotland. He replaced RTS against Japan, and I think that the biggest lesson we can learn from Geordie Barrett at 12 is that the door's shut on RTS completely. Havili and Ioane, they've played the most minutes together as a combo. Geordie's played the most minutes at fullback. Then there's Goodhue, who may possibly end up being fit. Who knows? There's also, of course, RTS, but Geordie's now the guy that's behind Havili. Geordie will definitely play there at the pull stages, but when you actually want to do a bit of thinking, you know, like you don't want to leave Geordie at the back because I think he's the only person in this whole country that I would trust to put out the back, mate.
Yeah, not
I don't
Stevenson.
trust anybody else. Definitely not Stevenson.
No.
I looked at his tackle radio the other day. Ratio I should have said. It was like 77% or something. I can fact check that later on, but I've never really liked Stevenson as a defender. So
okay, so you're basically you want Geordie at the back badly.
Yeah, and fullback to me is a much more important position, so it's just a no-brainer.
Okay.
Like post World Cup, it's cool, but we need Geordie at 15 for defense. It's just That's what I'm going
Okay.
to say.
You make your point very well. Make your point very
Mm.
well there, Max. Is there anyone else before moving on to Australia? Any other Kiwis looking really good?
Definitely, Hugh Renson from the Highlanders. He's looking really good. He's looking so damaging on attack. He's tackling so well for them. Thomas Umaga Jensen looking very good too. I've been really glad to see Mitch Hunt coming back from injuries too. He had a really bad concussion last year. So nice to see him back firing. Sam Gilbert, maybe he's the closest replica to Geordie Barrett if you do want to put Geordie at 12.
Okay.
I prefer him to Stevenson for the kicking game, the defense. Got that same kind of Geordie Barrett frame there, the similar heights. From the Crusaders, obviously, everyone's going crazy despite the injuries. Scott Barrett is making a hefty workload out of this season, and
Yeah.
he's doing so well.
What about Blackadder's back?
Blackadder's back. If he was a few inches taller, that would be the lock problem solved. But
Isn't he the sixth problem?
nah, mate, because
No, no.
I meant to say that I meant to start my sentence saying that Fozzie's looking at locks who can play six.
Yeah, very
Savi and
popular at the
Kane,
moment in World
obviously,
Rugby.
they're the first names on the team sheet. And as
Yeah.
you say, the lock at six is very popular in World Rugby. So you kind of have to have that guy to balance the line out. And Blackadder sadly just wasn't blessed with the genetics for it, eh?
What if you played, say, Papali'i at 7 or Satutu at 8? Would that help though?
Definitely. Like if Fozzie was willing to give our best 7 a go, then that would be awesome. But
That would sort your lineouts
he
out,
just
wouldn't it?
isn't willing.
Ah, interesting stuff. Okay, let's drag you away from the All Blacks onto Australia. Are they looking decent, or are they struggling a bit?
I could go on for hours about the Melbourne Rebels. Honestly, Rich.
You got a minute?
The Melbourne Rebels, mate, their crowds are the worst of the competition by far. There's so many handling errors in their team. The Western Force, they've looked pretty sloppy too. Richard Hardwick, though, I will say he's been carrying the Rebels. So Namibia do have a solid pick in there. Reece Hodge isn't his best self, but the Reds, the Brumbies, the Waratahs, they've all got pretty positive things to go over. Like Max Jorgensen, 18 years old. He's playing like he's like 22 or something for the Waratahs. He's a very good fullback. Tane Edmund, he appears to be their first choice 10 last year. Nowadays, he can't get a start because Ben Donaldson, who was the fullback last year, he's the 10, and Tane Edmund's on the bench. Donaldson's been kicking decently, and Jorgensen, I think, is a really special talent later down the line. Joseph Suali'i, I think his name is. He's a league convert that's been signed. I'd like to see Suali'i.
Yeah, I was literally watching some highlights of
together.
him yesterday. He looks very special.
Is he going to be like the next Sonny Bill, do you reckon, mate?
I don't know, but didn't he break like the Australia high jump record or something when he was 15? Is that right?
I do not know about that
I
one.
thought I read
Sorry.
that.
I pay too much attention to my own country, mate. I need to stop it.
Anyway, so there's a few youngsters in there, maybe a bit early for them though. Is there anyone you think that is the established Australian players that is playing really well?
Nick White and Noah Lolesio, I think are going to be Eddie Jones's 9 and 10 combo for
Yeah.
sure.
Okay.
Other Alatoa and Slipper, they're looking to finish their careers with a bang. I've liked seeing Jed Holloway's gone as well. He's done some pretty decent work. Hooper's still looking like he's got a fair bit of energy for an older player too, which is nice.
Okay. So you think they'll be pretty steady, Australia? Maybe not absolute fireworks?
It's all just going to be a bit of a difficult task for them, considering how Eddie Jones has so little time to gel them together. So it's no wonder that he's going to name a squad for them this Sunday, do some training sessions with some possible picks.
Yeah.
You know, I don't blame him for doing that at all because he's got stuff full time, really.
Absolutely. Okay, Max, it's been brilliant. You're really getting so many names out there for me to think about, for some of my Northern Hemisphere viewers to think about, names we haven't heard of before as well. Finishing off on Fijian Drua and Moana Pacifica, do you think having them in Super Rugby is going to directly help their national team, and to what extent?
Definitely. Fiji and Drua, even though Habosi, who's got sacked, for example, like, even though he's no longer in Super Rugby, like, he was elevated straight to the Drua. The centre combo are looking really good. Manasa Solo, a prop, the veteran, he's really helping those young guys. Titi Teller and Frank Lamani gelling together at 9 and 10. That's been absolutely epic to see. Meli Derena Langi, who's their skip, the number 8, he's been in phenomenal form, and we'll definitely see him elevated to the national team this year. There's so many players in that Fiji and Drua side who are going to be stars of the future of Fiji, and having the Drua there as, I guess, that identification of talent pool set at home, I think is really nice because they can pick, players straight from their amateur clubs into the Drua, and the Drua with all this natural talent that they've got, they can just get trained up to speed, get that professional assistance, and they can really just have long careers up north after they turn 27 or so, want to make bank, things like that. I think the Drua is an excellent innovation. Moana Pacifica, though, they need to play more games in Tonga and Samoa. They've only got a single player, Miracle Fa'ilangi, who's played amateur rugby in Samoa.
So
Moana,
it's not quite the grassroots kind of feeder that Fijian Drua is. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, what I'm saying is a lot of the Moana team, they'd played in New Zealand for a wee while before they were selected for that side.
Right.
And Moana are hitting those achievement points at a slower rate than the Drua, I think.
Yeah. I mean, for Fiji, one of their obviously downfalls in big competitions is their time training together. If they could get a core of their team from Fijian Drua and then add some stars from the rest of the world, you'd think maybe that's what will get them into a World Cup semi-final or something. Do you reckon that's on the cards this cycle or not? Not quite.
The point you've made over there, Rich, I think is what I was trying to say but didn't quite hit. Because you've got all the stars like the Ranjaradras overseas, things like that, the Muri Valus of the world, the Nakarawas, if he gets a recall, for example. You've got all those guys willing to go, but if those second choice players and third choice players come into the team after playing together at the Drua, there's going to be a lot more team cohesion and combination building experience should they be asked to get onto the pitch at a World Cup.
Brilliant. Look, Max, I think I'll call it a day there. That was absolutely brilliant. Give me so much food for thought and given my viewers probably lots and lots of new information to think about. And we'll be watching Super Rugby Pacific closely as they build up towards the Rugby Championship, which I believe is just one round this year. Is that right? As in one round each?
So the All Blacks go to Argentina for a game. They have the South Africans hosted at Mount Smart Stadium in Auckland. They then go to Australia for the game. That's the Rugby Championship over. We've got a second Bledisloe in Dunedin. We've got a Twickenham fixture against South Africa, and then that's
there's lots of warm-ups, aren't there? Yeah, that's it. So it's kind of like a short Rugby Championship and then some warm-ups afterwards as well. Yeah,
pretty much, mate.
It's all hotting up, isn't it? Max, thank you so much. That was brilliant. And we'll see you soon.